Okay.
Since the primary, what have you done to prepare for the job?
Well, the very next day I prepared email notices, made phone calls, and arranged through a proper, very proper, I might add, manner, appointments for interviews to meet and discuss. And then I was surprised I got such a great response from the county offices. And all along the last 5 or 6 years, since I was moved back to Hazleton, my hometown, and was in charge of my mother's care, I was learning more about the county. And throughout my time back in Luzerne County, I have been making my own investigation of how things run in the county. But I stepped it up May 19th.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you attended any of the transition committee meetings?
Yes, I don't keep track of how many. It's on record when I make public comment online.
And is there, have you made many of them, or?
A large amount. When they were drafting the charters, at several meetings, I have to say, throughout this Home Rule Study Commission meetings and the Transition Committee, I feel as if I'm ignored sometimes, or sometimes there's a united front to make statements about some of my editorials, for instance, and I'll leave 2 copies, but I'm sure you have them on record because I send you all my letters. I make frequent comments. I'm not claiming I'm always correct, but my most recent criticism was the closed executive sessions. And I want to read that from the Sunshine Law states that these sessions should be made to discuss matters involving employment, appointment, termination of employment terms and conditions of employment, evaluation. But it goes on, provided, however, that the individual employees or appointees whose rights could be adversely affected may request in writing that the matter or matters be discussed at an open meeting. I believe that I'm glad that they ceased with those sessions as a result of my commentary, and I'm glad I stood alone in the public at those meetings when they had a united front. And then I noticed the chairman, Mr. Jim Boback, stated, Ms. Dobash, I assure you, these closed executive sessions will continue, and then all of a sudden they stopped them as a result of my statement. So I'm proud of that accomplishment, because I think they're overstepping their authority in their grab for power, and that they are not using the transition team for a smooth transition, but rather to attain more power and authority than they have.
Well, let me ask you about that. How do you feel that the transition committee meetings have been going?
Well, the last meeting I was at a candidate forum, and I attended the public forum the other night at King's to address what the charter was about. How have they been going? I've been concerned about sending messages out to the county offices. For instance, one of the members sent an email inviting all the county personnel to attend that forum. I'm not sure what authority she had to do that. The transition meetings, I've been concerned, are all the members attending? Mr. Haggerty just started recently attending after, again, I sent a letter to the editor. It seemed after he lost the election, he lost interest, so I had to embarrass him to return. I'm glad he's there because he helped write the charter. But I was concerned, several of the officers, Ms. Chevelle, she's been absent for several meetings. I haven't kept a record. I'd have to look up and count.
Aside from those specific individuals, do you think the transition committee is on pace with what needs to be done?
I think I will give them credit in that they're trying to do that, but I am very, very concerned that they think their recommendations will all be followed. I'm not too sure about the ethics policies in that. The council has a limited role already. And I will say we were asked a question at a forum. One of the questions, it talked about how would you handle, would you interfere with the executive's operations, daily operations? Well, no. But I will say that I am here to empower myself and the public, and I suggest that the public get more involved with fact-finding and information to ensure that the hired county executive is forthright and open. And I do expect the transition committee to be as open as possible. I'm concerned about that.
If you were elected to council, would you think that, how much should you, the council, follow the recommendations of the transition committee?
Well, first of all, I am one of an 11-member council if I'm elected. So I feel that each and every member has a responsibility to review their recommendations, but we do not have to follow them.
If elected, how much time would you expect to dedicate to the council post?
As much as needed to be informed to make decisions. That's why I continue. I have to call the right to know officer back. I will do it after from some information she wanted to explain first before she sent me the information as to why she was sending it a certain way. I will spend as much time as I can to make informed decisions.
Do you have an idea of how much time, even ballparking, how much time that would be? Are you planning more? Obviously, it's going to be 20 hours.
It's going to be more than 20 hours of work. One issue alone could take a large amount of research and time to make an informed decision.
I just want to try to get an idea of what the amount of time you think you're going to be devoted to this. Hours.
It might be at least 40.
A week or a month?
A week? Perhaps. It's almost, although the council's set up as part-time, it really is a full-time responsibility.
Do you think it's appropriate for council members to have a daily or weekly presence in the courthouse, or would you have a preferred way of being accessible to the public?
Well, it would be nice to have a public office where they know they could reach or contact me, or a county address or email. My cell phone, I'd be happy to give it, 570-579-6138. It's on the back of all my cards. I'm not afraid to give it out. That's my personal phone.
Now everybody has it.
That's right.
If you served on council, if you were elected, would you vote for the appointment of a relative to a county authority, board, or commission?
Absolutely not. And I do have concerns with contacts of those already serving on the transition committee. There's people say, why did you bring it up? I mean, there's a family tie with county government dollars. Specifically the chairman's father. Now, I might fall under criticism that they are two separate individuals, but there is a public outcry for no family contracts. So that's why I brought that up, and I don't understand why Mr. Bobeck has not been forthright in bringing it up.
And his father?
CEO and president of Step by Step, which is the company that I work for as a part-time therapeutic staff support worker, which brings up an issue with me. And that is...
How would you suggest that Mr. Bobeck resolve that?
Well, first of all, I think he should make a comment that that is indeed true. And I also think he should address the issue with the recent news from yesterday at a commissioners meeting to be paid that he's been working for the county while he's been serving on the transition committee. I thought that was a violation. Didn't Ms. Cheval have to resign from an authority? And so how can he be paid with county dollars right now and serve as chair?
He's agreed to not do that, I understand?
Yeah, he stopped that.
Well, then my next statement is, as a lawyer, why did he do it in the first place? Doesn't he? He made a statement, I think, on a website somewhere that I'm here to give lawyers good name, but why is he looking for loopholes or did not know that that was a conflict? I don't understand that.
Do you think there'll be issues for other candidates?
There might be. Is there any other candidates, and Jennifer, you are the experts, you have done more research than I. Are there any other candidates on any boards or authorities that are involved with county contracts?
No.
That's a question, and I know, how did they get their appointments? I understand that Commissioner Urban is on boards and authorities as an official capacity of his job right now as commissioner. But are there any other candidates?
Again, I have to go back and look at the charter, but it's accepting a contract, so, and it's not, for example, Mr. Bobek, it's his father, it's not him. So,
Right, I understand that.
So,
But again, the public outcry is there not to have any family ties with county dollars.
is there a specific skill or expertise that you would bring to council, budgeting or legal background or experience with contract negotiations?
Contract negotiations, I can say that I have an understanding of people's personalities and trying to get people to come together, and I was a teacher.
Were you ever involved in contract negotiations?
I worked for Millville School District
And how were you
a long time. It was long decades ago, actually.
And how were you involved?
I was a negotiator for a year.
For a year. Is there a specific job skill that
Oh yes, the other part of that question is I believe through my life experience and my job experience that I can be an asset to the understanding of the human service departments. Although I do believe that more than likely I will have to resign my job as therapeutic staff support worker, which creates a very big financial dilemma for myself, which I've been problem solving and on job hunts for. But I will seek an opinion with the State Ethics Commission too, formally, if I do win, if that's needed to resign my job. But that experience at 5 years as a therapeutic staff support worker, as an educator, and working with my mother's care, I think I have a good understanding of the needs and services of the various populations in this county.
I'll go back to that because you would need to consult with the Ethics Commission to determine whether...
I will write, I have a letter prepared that I will send them and get their formal opinion on it.
I guess some people might ask if you've called out candidate Bobek for having a father with a contract, yet you're unsure. I mean, you're pretty sure about him, but you're not so sure about yourself.
Well, this is my livelihood, but I said that I would. Jennifer called me the other day, and I said I would serve the people. And if I win, I am going to serve the people, and I will abide by the charter. But I will still seek an opinion of what the Ethics Commission states. And I also want to seek their opinion on any connections as a result of that job and work history, on what things I can vote on.
Well, Mr. Bobek, as a lawyer and as an arbitrator, was just doing his job too. I mean...
I'm not serving as chair of the transition committee right now currently. I'm a citizen running for office.
You'd say you have to talk to the Ethics Commission to see whether that's an issue.
I know that. I have to follow the law, and the choice will probably be to resign. But I want to seek legal opinion on issues that come up in the human services, take one issue at a time, and what my role is in voting, if I have to excuse myself.
One of the big issues for the county is the budget and the debt. Do you have any specific suggestions on ways that Luzerne County could reduce spending or save money, or are there ways that can increase revenues?
Well, through my interviews, I found that people in the county offices right now have been working hard to try to reduce expenses. And the prison is one example. Mr. Gibbons, the engineer who wears many hats as a result of the firings. I think offices almost had to already consolidate. And I think there's people that have good ideas and suggestions. To reduce the revenue, you had an article in yesterday's paper, and you talked about the debt reduction in regard to the bonds. I think that we can reduce our debt. We can reduce our debt by restructuring the bonds, but it's going to take that credit rating. And the Budget and Finance Department worked diligently and meticulously on an audit so that they can get the county prepared for that credit rating. And then with bond restructuring at lower rates, those bonds that qualify, because your article yesterday was very good in citing how many bonds each year and when they were due and what ones could be restructured, and there were some restrictions. But I think that will assist tremendously. Raising taxes is the very last option, and I do not want to do that to the citizens and taxpayers, property owners of this county. The senior citizens don't get any cost of living increase. And I would ask that once contracts, those union contracts are up, that the leadership in the unions for the county services for the workers, that they accept a pay freeze or at least present some admission and understanding of our severe debt, and come together to work with the manager and the council to an agreement where they're considering our severe debt and get the county back on track.
Are there any other potential revenue sources that you can think of?
Well, I know that they talked about reassessment, but that still has to be based on that 15% whether property values increase or decrease.
Do you think we should look at reassessment on a regular basis, like every 5 years, every 10 years?
Well, that hard work, that painful process was done, so now everything is up to date. And people, it's my understanding, if they still have issues, there's still an appeals process. And the flood victims should realize, and the word was out on this, that those properties that are now damaged should go and through the appeal process and see what their value of their property is now. But I think that, yes, it has to be that it went for a long span of time, and then when statistics indicate, then it needs to be done.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding the county workforce, what do you think is a reasonable fringe benefit package for county employees regarding vacation or sick days?
I have not had time or the privy or the right to know request to all the individual contracts for each. That is one area that I do not have all the information on, that I can comment objectively.
As a general rule, do you think sick days employees should be allowed to roll those over for an extended period of time?
Well, I know, based on my interview with the warden, I want to ask the other council members to be cautious about these, because there was an extreme abuse of the sick leave and then the overtime. And that's why it is my understanding, based on my notes and interview, and you can confirm with the warden, that some people were let go, and that now he is saving the county money because of catching those abuses.
What do you think the county's responsibility is for funding outside organizations, things such as public libraries?
Well, I've been asked that question, and I'm very concerned about the public libraries. We do need their services because I see the senior citizens use them, and there's other individuals within each community that use them heavily every day. I would hope that the localities still keep a more supportive effort in that, because the state is withdrawing money. And I'm hoping that the localities where the libraries are, I know they're dependent, but less and less the county is given less money because of our debt. I support the libraries. I've written letters in support of the libraries. I've criticized the state budget cuts with the libraries, that somehow the state, they got a hard hit 3 years in a row from the state. So I'm hoping that the localities step up more. Our county debt is so bad, it's a shame that the system's being affected, because it's the children need it and our seniors need it, and it's used by other groups many times, and they have special programs for the younger children.
How about things like Moon Lake Park and recreational facilities? Any thoughts on that?
Okay, now, we had the flood. So with the flood, there was a meeting that was scheduled, another public information meeting, which I had intended. I attended the first one. And the issue came up about privatization. Now, it could work for that. I know that residents were concerned about it being turned into a theme park, but I don't think that was the intent. So there could be some services that can work with some privatization ideas. But again, that's issue per issue, and I need the facts and the numbers in front of me. Whatever best serves the public needs and brings down our county debt and still provides the service. We want Moon Lake to stay, and it's already being used. The people are using the trails. All right, it's my understanding that the park is being used. Let's bring it back to what it should be for the whole community of Luzerne County.
If elected, will you bring a particular issue to council that is of concern to you?
Yes, I am very concerned that information will be equally given out to each council member. Now, the hiring of the county executive is so important. I am very concerned about inside friendships, perhaps, with the applicants. I don't have access to those 70 applicants, and that's the first thing we all must do. And I said it at a forum. The chairman says that we're going to make mistakes. Well, I guess so, but the first mistake should not be hiring the wrong individual and making the council feel as if it's the most important #1 thing they have to do. That we have someone hired January 2nd, January 3rd is not a good pressure to put on the council, because I think it's too important a decision. This person is not elected. It's taking out of the public's hand who this manager is going to be. So it falls on the council's shoulders. It has to be the right person and the right choice, and I'm not going to be pressured by anyone to expedite that process. And I want to have my facts. I almost feel like the county needs to hire a private detective to investigate all the different contacts. Look what happened with that one company, with Mr. Riley's company. Under the radar. I am not going to be rushed into a decision.
If elected to council, would you want to serve as chairperson? And if not, what characteristics would you be looking for the council?
First of all, I feel I want a person that has more knowledge than me to be chair of all the government offices. I'm still working very hard. I don't know who's going to be elected. I want that person that I can trust, that I know will prepare an extensive agenda and give each council member the appropriate time to make a yes or no vote equally. Do I want to serve as chair? I don't know who the other individuals will be. There might be a more informed, knowledgeable person on that council that understands the government better than I do, so I'll have to wait to see.
So just to be clear on that, you wouldn't want to be chair, is what I gather from what you just said, and you're looking for someone who would be knowledgeable, could be trustworthy.
I believe I'm a leader. I would like to see who the public elects on November 8th.
So you can't say.
And ask that question after.
Well, part of our election board preview is to ask you that question.
Now.
Too late then.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, basically, I trust myself to do my very best to make sure each council member has the information.
Yeah. You have a question?
I did. You made it pretty clear before that taking your time to find the manager is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you were elected to council 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now,
Mm-hmm.
and the other 10 were pushing over the next 6-7 weeks. We want to find this person. How would you interact with those?
I would have to have them want to listen to their arguments as why that's the best person, and I need to look at the other applicants. I don't see. There was one informal conversation at one of the transition meetings, and it would happen between one of the candidates who's on the transition committee and Mr. Moore, the hired consultant, who was being paid very well for his work. And this sheet, he has a sheet where there's a lot of holes and blanks in it, and he's been paid over half of the money now. So. And I asked one question: which county of the 3 on this chart is spending more money and will spend more money as a result of home rule? And he couldn't answer me. So your question,
Just to get back to my question.
yes,
So you're on the council theoretically.
Yeah.
3 weeks from now.
and I'm getting back to it.
And they
With
have-
Miss, they have a conversation,
they
oh,
have-
I'm going to hire I know some friends that I can ask to apply. That's what I overheard. So I'm concerned about those relationships.
Let's say they have it down to 5 resumes out of the 70 or so that they,
Right.
and they do feel that 6.
The other
six-
10
they feel
are
that
strong.
6-7 weeks is enough time to go through these candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of what you're indicating they're pushing for.
I think they're
You
trying to
have-
rush
you
the
have-
process. Can the council take a little bit of breath now? There's a county manager working. The offices are still functioning, right? I mean, is the county falling apart right now? No.
Well, I guess the question is, if a majority says, let's go forward, and you
The
don't agree with
majority.
them, and you don't agree with them, what's going to happen?
Well, it has to be the reasons why. I mean, we're talking about a future scenario. So I don't know the names. I don't know their arguments for pushing those people.
Let's take it away from this specific issue.
Okay.
The majority wants to do something you don't want to do. You don't want to, you don't agree. How are you going to, what's your action?
I would have, if I'm firm that I don't agree, I will have documentation as to why.
Okay. Let me ask you this then. Given the media interest in county government, what do you think is the appropriate way for the council to communicate with not only the Times Leader but other media outlets? Should there be a spokesperson? And maybe with that, can council people speak with the media?
The way it's organized, it appears that the chairman is the spokesperson for the council.
Well, what do you think?
I'm hoping that the council selects the most trustworthy person that will give out the facts as they are and not go under the radar and smooth it over. Just give the facts out. And if that chairman is the person that has that integrity and work ethic and is equally sharing, then I'm fine with that. But again, I will state, if I don't think I'm not, I'm going to go to the press. I've stated it. I will seek through the proper procedure and channels through the Right to Know office. And right now I'm telling you that the Right to Know officer has been upfront and does the very best work to get the information that I'm asking for, above and beyond.
What have you been doing to campaign this time? What have you been...
Well, it was rainy, so walking outside.
But that was great for everybody.
Yeah. So I continue with the door knocking through the summer and through now. I've been making my own phone calls. I think people are tired of the phone calls, and I try to time it in a time of day where I think I'm not bothering the residents. I leave a message. I know they're tired of this, but how are they going to know Kathleen Marie Dobash? I'm asking for their vote, and I do tell them to read all the articles by the editorial boards, all the answers to the questions. I'm quite disappointed. Now, I understand some candidates have missed some forms because of issues, but I'm not sure why the candidates are just refusing to go. I don't understand that. And I don't understand, this is a little unnerving, being in front of the camera and exposed like this, and I know it's going to be on your internet site for people to scrutinize my facial expressions, my voice, my gestures. I'm hoping that I'm coming across as best as I can, presenting myself. But I think to not show up for these interviews is doing a disservice because, again, I will restate that I am empowering myself with information, and I ask the public to empower themselves with information before they vote on November 8th. And all citizens in the county, young and old, since the council is the legislative body and we'll be voting on budgets, we're part-time, and I'm seeking and asking all the residents of Luzerne County to join the council to keep our hired county executive managing the county's dollars and work within the budget given. I'm asking everybody for that help.
How much do you expect to spend on your campaign for the general election?
I might, if I need to, publish an older article to get information out when I'm going door to door. I'm almost exhausted my supply of candidate cards. I haven't done the total. It's way under $2,000. I have some signs. It's under that.
Are you doing any fundraisers?
No. I had to make a decision. I sent out one letter way early on seeking some donations. I got a few donations. I purchased some signs. There's about 25 signs out and around the county. Sometimes if I think I have too many at a spot, I'll pull it and take it to a new place where I don't have it. Is it about the signs? Do the signs vote? I see a lot of signs out there. Let it be about how the person's presenting themselves to the public, answering questions, trying not to evade. I apologize if you feel I evaded the question in regard to my job. I am restating that I will serve the public and quit my job. But I will always seek legal opinions and when it comes to voting on issues, whether I have a conflict of interest, because I think that some people ignore it. They just ignore it and hope people don't say anything about it.
Did you set a dollar limit on any of the donations that when you received? Any limitations on those donations?
Highest donations I received were $100. And then I called that person to make sure that they could afford it and they wanted to donate, because I was documenting even if it was $10 or $20, I was noting when I give my campaign report, you'll see. I'm documenting more than I'm required by law.
Have you tried to join with any other candidates to form a coalition?
No, and I am a little leery of the group that's running as a slate, because they use the term working families, and I might have, in a statement, working families. I'm concerned about, I did not seek out an endorsement so my campaign could be financed for radio and television ads. Individuals running on a slate will owe political favors. That's why I didn't seek a slate. Now I know that in the area, you know, the Republican committees here and there are doing some things to say who they want to vote for. That's their decision, but I'm not seeking out endorsements by any particular group. I want to win the endorsement November 8th of the voters of Luzerne County and then work for them.
Any other questions? Are you satisfied with the way this meeting went and that we asked appropriate questions?
Very. Thank you.
Is there any issue you would like to emphasize, anything that we had glossed over that you would like to talk about before you leave?
No, I think we covered all the issues, and I thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay.